Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. More Birthright here for you as we keep working our way through the Blood Enemies expansion. So we recently took a look at the Kraken, and following that up here we have another naval-themed awnshegh here, and that is the Leviathan. So probably one of the lesser-known ones, right? Unless you already have the expansion and have kind of done a lot of playing in the Birthright setting. This one wouldn't be as familiar for most folks, but it is exactly what it sounds like. So let's dive in. Quick shout too before we really get into it. So if you want to see Birthright content like this early, but also some exclusives for the setting and also other D&D, among other games as well, hit us up on our Patreon there. We got several different tiers there, but all the support does mean the world to us, helps us continue to bring you guys awesome content. So jumping in here. So like the other entries, there's no way to interview the Leviathan, obviously, and it has not been seen for almost a century, and it's most likely incapable of communication. There are also few recorded survivors of the attacks. One such, though, Mikhail Kaninsky, a former boss captain of the Brecht ship Unquenchable Pride, heard our plight and offered this interview. The meeting took place in the imperial city of Anweer, where he lives out his remaining years. 'Twere near 70 years ago, I was master of the trading vessel, and I'd agreed to take a load of spices from Kanasi to Gravesmule. Also, if it was 70 years ago and he was already a master of a ship, this dude is old. But moving on, we were hugging the shore since there'd been reports of pirate activity in the area. Winter was drawn near, and the ices were forming over the northern waters. I thought we could make it through the Leviathan's reach before the ice froze that over too, but no such luck. We were stuck in the middle of the reach in one of the coldest winters in remembered history. We knew the Leviathan was rumored to be active after its last 80-year sleep, but we'd heard that before and weren't really expecting to see much. Now when the ice froze us in, I sent some of the Swabbies to walk south and see how far the ice sheet extended. I suppose their steps must have hit a particular echoing through the patch of ice, because they didn't make it more than 50 yards more. A great spray of ice and freezing water erupted from below them and sending most of them flying. We never saw the bodies of a couple of sailors. Figured it meant the Leviathan had taken them right away. Those who'd been knocked around lay in ice in all directions, scattered by the blow. Even as we were ready to party to go out and get them, the Leviathan started picking them off one by one. Anything that cast a shadow through the ice was fair game. I lost a quarter of my crew out on that shattered ice. The only good that came of the whole episode was that the Leviathan had shattered enough of the ice that we were able to actually get ourselves free of that Nessirier forsaken place. Unfortunately, it wasn't far enough. We traveled near 40 miles back east through the slush-filled waters, trying to steer clear of the Leviathan. While the ship was at anchor for the night, we heard the sound of ice creaking to the west. Like a fool, I assumed it was just the booming of the ice forming. I found out different about 10 minutes later. I was hurled from my bunk and landed in a rapidly growing pool of water. It seems the ship had been bitten in half, and we were sinking to a watery grave. I managed to squirm through a porthole, and I struck out for shore. I knew I wouldn't last for long on the icy water. It was only through pure luck that I'd managed to reach an ice floe that was close to a stable ice sheet. It was even more luck that the Leviathan didn't take me. It certainly got most of my friends. I heard their screams through the night. After my making way through the wilds of Mossgard and the Hag's domain, miracle he survived that too, I finally made it to Gravesmule. Of course, they didn't believe my story any more than I would have, but I was still insulted when they suggested it was my incompetence that lost the ship. I never got a clear look at the monster. All I saw was a tail that had put a whale to shame. Though it did look like a whale's tail, a pair of mighty flukes and teeth that were longer than I am tall, shining like metal under the winter sky. Still have nightmares about the Leviathan. Even though it was 70 years ago, the thought of that thing keeps me awake at night. They say that you can't get the call of the sea from your blood. I'm living proof that you can. I haven't set foot on the water, or I haven't set foot on even the smallest boat since that day. Now, there is no actual depiction of the Leviathan in any records, again, due to lack of real survivors. All accounts recall the flashing teeth and mighty flukes, but some call it a large whale and others a gigantic serpent. There is the sea drake, which we'll cover later, but that's more in Anweerian waters, so for it to be all the way up north would be a little bit weird. But perhaps it is a strange mix of the two. The history of the creature is unclear as well. By all reports, it was one of the few awnshegh that began its career as a monster, mutating further as the blood of Azrai twisted it. Ancient Messatian records found near the Canasi lands tell of a creature that bedeviled their ships and sailed off to fight the War of Shadow, and this may well be that beast. Whatever the case, the monster has become less intelligent over the passing of centuries. Once able to demand tribute from ships in the Reach, in the past 500 years, it seemed to just degenerate into simple savagery. Basically, now it attacks anything that sails, swims, or even flies nearby. Frightening, right? So we are given a stat block here and some abilities that we can use if we want to incorporate that. But given the rumors and all the different awnshegh, but especially with that region, we could almost have some fun with the party here, the players, right? Because of its location, really, it could be mistaken for the Kraken, right? And then players could be led on a goose chase. And what more frightening and epic confrontation could we have than maybe if there was really a Leviathan and it is not in fact some other monster like the Kraken, maybe having something like I forgot what that movie's called, like Outer Rim or something like that, or Pacific Rim, that's what it is, and I just have like these two giant Godzilla-esque creatures maybe come into contact and get into battle over territory, and then maybe that's just like something super frightening to witness. Obviously, the party would probably not want to get anywhere close to that actual fight. But anyway, let's take a look at this. So it's considered to just have an intelligence of 4, basically always active, will eat anything and everything. Now it's neutral, but more leaning towards evil. Swimming, 36 movement. It's considered gargantuan, right? So 200 plus feet long. Armor class of -2, but again, the old system, so really that'd almost be like a 22 nowadays. Pretty big hit point pool, 150. Probably could bump that a little bit too, but it is just scary enough as it is. Saves as a level 20 fighter. Thaco doesn't exist anymore. Attacks, here it says 1 or 2, but they're pretty deadly should it hit, so probably doesn't need necessarily more. But damage on a bite, it's 3d10, and probably should be some strength modifier. This thing should be pretty damn strong. But then 2d10 times 2 for the flukes. Special attacks has a swallow and a tail smash. No special defense, but is 30% magic resistance on top of everything. Basically has a champion level morale. Azrai bloodline of 85, which is insane. That's we've got to go back and double check on the Gorgon at some point. I'm not even sure if his is that high. Blood abilities, a couple of tough ones, right? Long life has a great ability, and regeneration, great. So even if you think you maybe have inflicted some severe damage or even life-threatening damage, it could just sail away and just regenerate over time and come back to haunt the party again. And a massive chunk of 22,000 XP should you be able to beat it. Now it attacks with a powerful bite from its shining metallic teeth, which are able to pierce armor and crush mighty ships with a single motion of its jaws. Strikes with its flukes as well to drive waves over the vessel, usually swamping ships, and then just taking the rest of the crew of the ship at its leisure. The flukes can also scatter bodies all over the place, right? Hell, even as it says here, could just yeet killer whales all over the place too. If there's a particularly troublesome vessel or opponent, the Leviathan attempts to destroy it with a pass of its great tail. One smash of the tail causes 4 through 40 points of damage and raises a wave over 20 feet high. Anyone who can weather these two is truly a sailor of some ability. It can also swallow elephant-sized prey whole, so obviously if you're just a regular humanoid player, not going to have any problem with you. Those so ingested take D8 points of damage per turn while inside the belly of the beast. And the Leviathan only takes half damage from any weapon inside, and only weapons of size M or smaller can be wielded in the belly of the beast. If the victim inflicts over 20 points of damage, it would actually spit you back out. Let's see here. Leviathan spits its last 24 hours of prey back into the sea, leaving them behind, right? So you could theoretically escape. Now, other notes on it. It swims alone in the Leviathan's reach. It's unknown exactly how it chooses its victims. Are they simply those who sail near, or do certain types of travelers draw its ire more than others? As the interviewer shows, the Leviathan pressures its prey doggedly, attacking until either its hunger is sated or that which offends it is gone. Though all the animals of the reach allow the Leviathan swimming room, great white sharks follow behind it, as do killer whales, hoping to feed off food left behind from it. But they might just become food themselves. Some say it has a huge treasure trove under the waves. Anyone brave enough to venture and search for that will just find tons of ships decorating the ocean floor. Some are treasure or trading galleons, while others are simply pleasure ships or something equally useless. All told, the combined value of those hulks is over 100 gold bars, right? DM can probably set a cap on that, but 100 is already pretty dang generous, right? And again, that could be an interesting temptation, right? Maybe there's rumors of like lost or sunken treasure, but it is near the Leviathan's territory. Maybe the players have a couple successful dives of some sort, get some treasure back. Hey, this is good. Get a little bit too greedy, and boom, first Leviathan encounter. Finally, here, it is known to hibernate frequently. It hasn't been seen in over 80 years, which makes it perfect time for it to reappear. And it is well known that the creature lies dormant for decades at a time. Unfortunately, when it awakens, it does awaken with a ravenous hunger, and that is not easily slaked. So it's just another fun sort of super giant monster here, right? Similar again to the Kraken, but we can have these different huge monsters that just kind of have their own territories here. Very similar setup, right? It's going to be tough to survive an encounter with it, so certainly parties should be sufficiently high level to even want to try and investigate further, right, and not tempt fate here. But again, the lure of perhaps just insane amounts of treasure like that, maybe we're playing at the domain level and we really want to fund whatever it is that we're trying to fund for our domain, and we need just tons of gold, and maybe going the taxation route just isn't going to be the best option, or we're not strong enough to really go conquering territories and claim resources that way. The lure of that could be super strong. So it's just another naval monster, and we'll get to the sea drake later, right? It gives us sort of our trifecta of huge naval based or water based awnshegh here. Let us know, guys, if you've played the Leviathan. Have you taken any inspiration from the other two mentioned monsters? How have you played that? Did you actually create any kind of sort of underwater adventuring where the players did try to maybe start looting some of that sunken treasure? Hit us up in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.